everybody. Texas Deacon here. We're going to talk about a very touchy subject today. The Christian and alcohol. That always gets everybody riled up. And it is extremely touchy, and it's a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. Everybody knows the story, the first miracle recorded in the Bible that Jesus did, where he turned the water into wine. And I'm going to read part of that, starting with 2 John, verse 5. His mother said to the servants, "Whatever he says to you, do it." Now there were set there 6 water pots of stone, according to the manner of purification of the Jews, containing 20 or 30 gallons apiece. Jesus said to them, "Fill the water pots," and they filled them to the brim. Now, going in under the assumption that half of them, 3 of them, held 20 gallons, and 3 of them held 30 gallons, that's 150 gallons of wine that Jesus made. That was a big party, 150 gallons of wine, and party had been going on for quite some time. Now, we're going to look at Leviticus. Okay, it's supposed to be marked. Here it is. No, that's Judges. Don't give up on me just yet. I'm having to use 2 Bibles today to get the message across that I want to get. Leviticus 10:9. 10:8 and 9. And the Lord said to Aaron, "Do not drink wine or intoxicating drink, you nor your sons with you, when you go into the tabernacle of the meetings, lest you die." Now later on we're going to find that a priest is restricted from alcoholic beverages. However, deacons and elders are cut a little slack and permitted a little. Now in 1 Timothy, that's where Paul, writing to Timothy, we're reading 1 Timothy 3:2 and 3. A bishop must be blameless, the husband of one wife, temperate, sober-minded, of good behavior, hospitable, able to teach, not given to wine. And wine could be translated as any alcoholic beverage. Not violent, not greedy for money, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not covetous. Not greedy for money. It's going to take a whole lot of TV ministers off the air, isn't it? Now we're going to skip on down to verse 8. Likewise, deacons must be reverent, not double-tongued. That means what they say you can depend on. And not given to much wine. And also not greedy for money. We're going to skip over to 5:23 now. We're still in 1 Timothy. Now this is where Paul is writing to Timothy. And it says, he tells him, "No longer drink only water, but use a little wine for your stomach's sake and your frequent infirmities." He's clearly telling Timothy, if you got a problem, a medical problem, wine can help it. Well, then you drink a little wine. But, don't do it in excess. Now, we're going over here to Ephesians. Judges. Where do I have Ephesians? Here, I've got Ephesians. Okay, now, I'm going to read Ephesians out of the King James and the New King James, because when you're studying, it's best to use more than one Bible. King James and New King James are probably the best two to use. And as a general rule, the King James says it better. However, in this instance, I think the New King James says it better. Ephesians 5:18. And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. It says don't be filled with wine, be filled with the Spirit. Now we're coming over here to the New King James. Do not be drunk with wine, in which is dissipation. dissipation. But be filled with the Spirit. Now, dissipation is not a word that I use every day, so I had to go to Webster. Dissipation. A wasting or squandering. An idle or frivolous amusement or diversion. Indulgence in pleasure to the point of harming oneself. I think the New King James nailed it. Still not going to give up King James. Today we are in a little different world than when this book was written. For example, this day and time a person gets drunk and go out and kill a bunch of people. Happens every day. Now back during the time this was written, let's think what would happen if Ahab had too much to drink. First of all, if you weren't well off, you didn't own a donkey or a camel. And the hero Ahab is staggering out of the bars. They had bars back then. And he climbs on his donkey or his camel. Well, he would probably just fall right off, because there wasn't any seat belt to hold him up there. And even if he was able to stay on, he's not going to go charging down the road at 90 miles an hour running over people. The only person that Ahab is going to hurt is probably himself. So you have to use a little wisdom in that area. There have been times, and I still do it, I will have an occasional beer or a glass of wine. I would have wine every night at bedtime, except this old fat man is trying to cut calories. Not working, but I'm trying. My advice to you is never drink and drive the same day. If you have one beer early in the morning, you do not drive that day. Because if you have an accident and you have to say, well, I did have a beer early in the morning, no, you're supposed to say, I've had nothing today. Now that's some of the best advice I can ever give you. Matthew 10:15. Okay, Matthew 10:15. When he, Jesus, had called the multitudes to himself, he said to them, hear and understand. Not what goes into the mouth defiles a man, but what comes out of the mouth, this defiles a man. So what did you put into your mouth will not send you to hell. What comes out of your mouth will. You give that a lot of thought. And now we're going to Judges. I've got Judges here. Judges 9:13, I believe. Now, study these, not just this 9:13, but the other verses around it, and hear the lesson that trees and plants are being personified, okay? And the vine said to them, should I leave my wine, which cheereth God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? Should I leave my wine that cheers both God and man, and God is capital G in both versions. So God enjoys a glass of wine. It's okay if you have a glass, unless you're a shepherd, and the shepherd can't look after the sheep if you've been drinking. One last thing before we close. Never introduce a person to alcohol. You don't know, that might be the drink that they can't stop drinking from then on. And you do not want on your conscience the fact that you created an alcoholic. You give that a lot of thought, okay? So until next time, may God continue to bless and forgive the United States of America. May God continue to bless the Republic of Texas. And may God continue to bless you and yours.